Second hour of the show. I'm gonna go over some news. I'm gonna spend a bit on something that happened here locally today. Just because it's an insane story. I don't really know how else to put it. Um, so we'll start out with the article that's on kmov.com, and I'll put the link to all this on the oops, there's the right one. I'll put the link to all this in the description tab. Tonight I should actually get the recording up there for you know. Anyway, as it says, body found at Silver Lake. Police probe connection to fatal house fire. The house fire was in Glen Carbon, Illinois, and the body of the infant and the body of the adult that was in the vehicle with the infant was found in Highland, Illinois. So anyway, a body was found in a Highland lake hours after another body was found following a house fire in Glen Carbon Thursday morning. Police say they found an ID in the car that may tie the two incidents together. Around 11:30 a.m., the Madison County Coroner's Office was called to Silver Lake after the body of a female. Okay, now they're actually saying the sex. They weren't saying that earlier. The body of a female was found partially submerged in the water just below Highway 143. During the morning hours, crews were seen searching the lake and surrounding areas after an SUV crashed into the lake around 5:30 a.m. Let me pull this over here so I can read it better. About 3 hours before the body was found, officials in Glen Carbon found the body of an adult inside a home that caught fire in Glen Carbon. Both bodies have yet to be identified. Madison County Coroner Stephen P. Nunn reported the death investigations appear to be related. Police say an ID belonging to a resident of the home that caught on fire was found inside the submerged car. When the home on Dogwood Lane caught fire around 5:15 a.m., Glen Carbon Fire Chief Ralph Well said 6 children who lived in the home at the time of the fire were accounted for. He also said there is a 7th child that was not accounted for, but they are not looking for the child at the scene of the fire. Officials said 2 of the children ran to a nearby Walmart to call 911 for help when the fire broke out. According to officials, the children, who ranged in age from teenage down to infancy, are currently being taken care of by family members. It's a terrible tragedy. Anytime children are involved, it makes it even more difficult. Anytime there's loss of life, it's heartbreaking. And this is one of those times that as a community, we will come together, we will provide all the support we possibly can for the family to ensure that the kids, the adults, and everybody involved are taken care of, said Glen Carbon Lieutenant Wayne White. About 15 minutes after firefighters arrived at the house fire, officials in Highland were notified of an SUV that had gone into Silver Lake off of Highway 143. When crews arrived, they rescued an infant from the SUV and started performing CPR. One of our paramedics had jumped in the water already and retrieved an infant from the water, Highland Fire Department Captain Brad Mintz said. They did do CPR on the infant, took the child to the hospital. Child was eventually flown to St. Louis Hospital. Mintz said no one else was found inside the vehicle when it was pulled out of the water. Around 10 a.m., Glen Carbon police said they were seeking help locating Christy Campbell. They said Campbell was considered possibly endangered but did not elaborate on why they issued the alert. Although News 4 independently confirmed that Campbell's home was the one that caught fire on Dogwood Lane. Firefighters from Maryville and Troy were called to assist in battling the fire. In addition to the Glen Carbon Police Department, investigators from the Illinois State Police Department were seen on the scene. The cause of the fire has not been made available. So we're gonna go from this, and I'm gonna go ahead and play the press conference that was released. It's probably been maybe an hour to an hour and a half. I guess close to an hour and a half ago. Oops, hang on.
I.N.C. Madison County Sheriff John Lakin, L-A-K-I-N. Also here with me today is Madison County Coroner Steve Nahn, Highland EMS Chief Brian Wilson, Madison County State's Attorney Tom Gibbons. We apologize for running a couple minutes late, but you know that we've had a pretty lengthy day here, as well as you that have been covering this story from the beginning. We'll start with the events that got everybody moving in the same direction today. At approximately 5:15 a.m. this morning, the Glen Carbon Fire Department was dispatched to a residence number 15 Dogwood Lane in Glen Carbon, in reference to a house fire. When the EMS services arrived and the fire was gotten somewhat under control, they were able to determine that there was one fatality in that fire. At this time, that person has not been identified. We don't know if it's a male or a female, and the autopsy is scheduled for sometime tomorrow. At that house fire, 6 or 7 children escaped from the house fire. There was the ages range from 14 years to approximately 3 months. While the Glen Carbon emergency services folks were dealing with a house fire in Glen Carbon, at approximately 5:31 a.m., a caller who was passing across the Silver Lake Dam on Illinois Route 143 noticed some headlights in an unusual area that the person never sees headlights that time of morning. The 911 caller then indicated they observed the vehicle with the headlights on traveling down a hill area and went in and submerged into Silver Lake. Fortunately, the caller was able to get in a position and indicate that the vehicle was in the water with the headlights still on, and they believe that there was at least one person in that vehicle. Fortunately, that person got on 911 real quick. They got the Sheriff's Department, who immediately dispatched Highland EMS. Today was a very, it was a tragic day all the way around because of both scenes. Fortunately, if there is something good that can come of this, there's a Highland EMS paramedic that was responding to the scene. He got there rather quickly. He was able to get out of his clothes. He got into about 45 or 46 degree water. It swam out approximately, we're anticipating that to be about 50 to 75 feet into the water. He was able to do a sweep of the inside of the vehicle in the seated areas, and then found a 3-month-old child floating in a vehicle full of water with about probably 6 or 8 inches of airspace above that. Tim Zobrist was able to remove that baby from the vehicle and get safely to the roof of the vehicle where he began CPR. I'm very happy to report today that we're getting reports from the hospital in St. Louis that the child is fine and is supposed to be released tomorrow. So if there is something good that can come of this, it's that Tim Zobrist, in my opinion, is a hero, and the family of this 3-month-old is going to be able to spend a long time with this child because of Mr. Zobrist. And I think Tim deserves a great deal of credit here. He's a hero.
Please, Bill.
I'm sorry. That is, it's Todd, I'm sorry.
Can you spell it for me, please?
Toddzobrist.
Can you say again about him?
Sure.
Todd's name?
Yeah. And Highland EMS paramedic Todd Zobrist was responding to the scene and was able to, he located the vehicle, he disrobed as much clothing as he could. He got into about 46-degree water, swam out 50 to 75 feet, did a very quick sweep of the vehicle, and was able and found a 3-month-old child floating on the top of the water in the vehicle with a very small airspace at the top of that. He was able to grab the child by a limb, remove the child from the car, and he was able to get both of them safe, both he and himself and the child safely to the roof of the vehicle where he started CPR. The child was transported by ambulance to a local hospital and flown by helicopter to a St. Louis hospital. And we're very happy, or I'm very happy to report that we're hearing that the child is doing very well and is anticipated to be released from the hospital sometime tomorrow, and family members are there with that child. So we had active scenes in Glen Carbon at a house fire where we're told that there was one fatality. We knew that the vehicle got into the water somehow, whether it rolled on its own or it was driven. Once the recovery efforts were in place, there was some identifying documents that were found that tied that particular vehicle to the house fire scene in Glen Carbon. However, initially, no body was found, or no person was found in the area that we believe was driving the vehicle. At about 11:15 this morning, a body was located in Silver Lake, near the area of the dam, the pass over there. That body was located approximately 400 feet from the area where the vehicle entered into the water. At this time, we have no positive identification on that body. The body is in custody of the Madison County Coroner's Office, and an autopsy is scheduled for that body tomorrow as well. I will say this, that we are anticipating an ID on the body that was removed from the lake. It could be sometime 5 or 6 o'clock this evening. Once we get that positive identification, we will send something out to let you know who that is. In reference to the children, all of the children that, with the exception of the 3-month-old, are in the custody of the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, and they are being placed with family. I know that at a lot of times in these these press conferences, we make reference to people who duly need to be noted as participating in this effort today. And I wouldn't leave this podium without recognizing, obviously, the members of the men and women of the Madison County Sheriff's Office, the Illinois State Police, Highland Fire, EMS, and Police, the Illinois Department of Conservation. They brought some boats out with some sonar equipment on it, and really worked. And you realize it was a little cold this morning, and so it was not a very good situation for them. And the Illinois State Police Air Operations, obviously the Glen Carbon Police Department, Fire Department for the work that they've done at the scene there. The Illinois State Fire Marshal's Office, Child Advocacy Center, the Department of Children and Family Services, Madison County Coroner's Office, and the Madison County State's Attorney's Office. I know it's late in the day and this started very early in the morning, but this is still an active investigation and it's ongoing. So there's going to be very limited questions that I can answer, but I'll do my best.
Do you suspect that a woman found in the lake and the body is a man, and they were husband and wife, or at least a couple, the parents of the children at this time?
Well, at this time, because we don't know the true identities of either of these victims, it would be purely speculation, and I'm not prepared to say that.
Do we know where the children's parents are?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Beyond the obvious that someone died in the fire, does the fire look suspicious or criminal? Was it an accident or criminally intended? Do you have any idea about that?
Well, I think it's still under investigation with the State Fire Marshal's office, and I think once we get their report or they release some information, we'll be more than happy to pass that along. But that fire is under active investigation. Yes, sir.
Besides the deceased person, was anyone in the home at the time of the fire?
There was 7 children in the home. Fortunately, 6 of them were able to escape the fire. The 7th child would be the 3-month-old that was in the vehicle that was submerged in Silver Lake.
Can you talk about how the children got out, where they went, did they get assistance? Do you know anything about those sort of details?
I'll be very brief with that because that is a part of Glen Carbon's investigation. They asked me, because they're very busy over there today, they asked me to speak briefly about that. The children, when they escaped the house, some of them ran toward the Walmart that's in the city of Edwardsville, or I'm sorry, it's in Glen Carbon, it's in Glen Carbon. And some ran in the opposite direction to another neighbor's house. And the family in the neighborhood were able to get some clothing for the children and care for them while all this was going on. We do believe that when they ran to when they ran to the Walmart, they contacted an employee that was reporting to work and asked him to call 911 that their house was on fire.
Can you tell us the conditions of the body found in the house? In other words, are you going to have any difficulty identifying the body from the remains?
I think that'll be left up to the coroner's office. It's my understanding that the body was very badly burned.
Back to Glen Carbon, there appears to be some.
All right, you've been listening to a news conference out of Madison County. The sheriff there calling this a tragic day all the way around, and still a very active investigation after 2 people are found dead and an infant is rushed to the hospital following a water rescue in Highland, Illinois. We are following the story very closely for you. We will have much more coming up on News Channel 5 at 5. Of course, all the details online, and bring you any updates later in this newscast should there be any more.
Alrighty, and I'll take a peek. Hang on a second here. I'll take a peek and see if there's anything. Let me grab this link real quick so I can put it in the description tab, and see if they've got anything different on their homepage as far as any latest updates or anything. Of course, we could watch live the giraffe cam that people have been watching for what seems to be months now. Let's see. Wow, I can't believe that this is not like right up at the top. I've got some other news articles too, just trying to catch this before it plays.
And I'm Alexandra.
And which I didn't achieve. Let's see. This says a man was killed in a house fire on Dogwood Lane in Glen Carbon, Illinois, around 5:30 a.m. Thursday morning. 15 minutes later, a vehicle went off the road and into Silver Lake along Highway 143, and police say the 2 incidents are connected. 6 children made it out of the burning home safely, and some of them ran into a nearby Walmart for help. The children's age ranged from very young to teen. Once the fire was extinguished, a man's body was found in the home. Shortly after the fire broke out, the car crashed into the lake. When crews arrived on that scene, they found a 3-month-old boy floating in the partially submerged car. Paramedic Todd Zobrist pulled the baby from the car and administered CPR on the roof of the vehicle until he began breathing again. That would be Todd Zobers there, without a doubt, a hero. The baby was taken to a hospital in St. Louis where he's listed in stable condition and is expected to make a complete recovery. Nobody else was in the submerged car. Later in the morning, around 11:15 a.m., the body of a female was recovered from Silver Lake, approximately 400 feet from the submerged vehicle. The body has been identified as 32-year-old Christy Campbell, who also lived in the burned home on Dogwood Lane. Her official cause of death is pending an autopsy, which they weren't saying the confirmation. That's what I had been waiting for, to hear that official confirmation. The baby boy who was rescued from the car is one of 7 children who lived in the burned home. The other 6 children are in the custody of DCS, and officials say they will be placed with family members. Here is the video here. I go ahead and play it.
As far as I know, the infant was the only one that was taken from the vehicle.
Did it look like the vehicle ran off the road, or are you still?
It looks like the vehicle had pulled into a driveway here and then down the hill into the lake.
Have you been able to identify who the driver was?
No, not this time. That's up to Madison County to do that.
And it looks like you guys got a presence there. Is there people out here searching the water now?
We do have Illinois State Police. They are en route with their boat. They're going to be doing a side sonar in the lake and see if there's any other individuals in the water. And we do have the vehicle out of the water at this time, but nobody else is found inside of it.
And you said that the infant was flown to St. Louis, and you have no condition or nothing?
No.
Was it responsive when you guys got to it, or?
Whenever the first paramedics got here, they jumped in the water, retrieved the infant from the water. They were doing CPR on the infant, and then take it to the hospital.
Who called this in?
I believe a passerby saw it happen.
Yeah, I mean, without speculating, does it look like it's just a bad accident?
I really can't say at this point.
Right. Anything else you want to add that we made a... Thanks so much.
All right, sure thing. Sure. Oh, I think I took his mic.
Checking track.
Alrighty, so that's pretty much all the information on that. Right now, again, it's good to know that the children are okay, especially that infant. And again, I wanna raise up this guy here. He did a heck of a job. He really did. So it's amazing work. Okay, so let's move on to other stuff. I got some links here while I was playing. This is seems to be a never-ending battle in this country, one way or another. This is a report coming out of RT. As usual, the link will be in the description tab. New opioid painkiller considered too high risk of abuse, says the FDA panel. Opana ER, an opioid painkiller redesigned in 2012, still carries too high a risk of abuse despite its potential health benefits, said a Joint Food and Drug Administration advisory panel. Despite its reformulation, drug users began using it intravenously. The 27 voting members from the Drug Safety and Risk Management and Anesthetic with Analgesic Drug Products Advisory Committees, wow, that's a mouthful, had to evaluate Opana ER's safety compared to other products, its risk-benefit profile, and possible consequences to patients if the FDA imposed regulatory action on the drug. In an 18-8 vote, the joint panel concluded the benefits of Opana ER did not outweigh the risks. One member abstained from voting. It seems clear that the abuse deterrent characteristics of the produce, I think that's supposed to be product, have resulted in unintended consequences, said Jane Acree, Chief of Medications Discovery and Toxicology Branch at the National Institute of Drug Abuse, according to NPR. The drug was one of several opioids available for the treatment of chronic pain, so there were alternatives, Acree said. Among the materials the FDA panel considered was survey data that showed that among people who reported abusing Opana, the percentage who injected it roughly doubled after the reformulation from 17% to 38%. The panel's vote is non-binding, but the FDA gives deference to its advisory committees. Indo's shares closed down about 4% and were down about 1.7% in extended trading. On its website, Indo said it believes that Opana ER remains an important clinical choice for appropriate patients and will evaluate the range of available options for maintain access for legitimate use. The vote comes as the U.S. grapples with nationwide opioid abuse epidemic. As of 2012, an estimated 2.1 million Americans suffer from disorders related to prescription opioids, according to the NIDA. That's quite a few, really. Injected Opana ER, manufactured by Endo Pharmaceuticals, was linked to an HIV outbreak in rural Scott County, Indiana in 2015 due to shared needles. Indiana's State Health Commissioner, Dr. Jerome Adams, spoke to the advisory panel on Monday. He said there are now 215 cases of HIV in the area, and nearly all of those people had injected Opana. Excuse me. I would respectfully suggest that we're here today not so much to look back at what happened, Adams, according to NPR, but to make sure it doesn't happen in another community. The drug was being overprescribed in the area, Adams said, telling the committee. You need to ask yourself, are you helping more people than you're hurting? While Endo reformulated the drug in an effort to stop people abusing it, they also had a vested financial interest, NPR reported. The company used the reformulation to block generic competition, arguing that if they entered the market, annualized net sales would decrease by an amount up to $135 million. Really, it typically always comes down to money. Opioid overdoses led to more than 33,000 deaths in the U.S. in 2015, or about 90 deaths per day. Roughly half of those overdoses came from prescription opioids, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Patients, advocacy groups, and lawmakers have placed much of the blame on medicine developers and distributors and their role in keeping the prescription opioid supply flowing. In March alone, 2 West Virginia counties and a city in Washington launched lawsuits against companies including AmerisourceBergen, Cardinal Health, CVS Health Group, McKesson Corporation, Purdue Pharma, and Walgreens Boots. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio lambasted the pharmaceutical industry's role in the epidemic earlier this week and announced a plan to funnel $38 million a year to help address opioid addiction and other health concerns. So there you go. And, you know, it is a crazy epidemic. I was having a conversation on Facebook with... I've got a friend on Facebook that he posts anytime in his area that there is a heroin overdose. He posts about it, and you know, there after he's been doing this for some time, and after a while, I guess there were some people that had not so good things to say, and I really I'm proud of the couple people in that status that were commenting. One gentleman had lost his daughter not real long ago. Actually, a little over a year ago. He had lost his daughter. Had no idea that she was that she was an addict, and then another lady had posted about her brother who she lost, and both of them were very, very firm behind saying that this is something that we really have to push out. We have to make it known. We really do. I could ask a lot of people how many veterans commit suicide a day, and a lot of people could probably tell me that number. And to be honest, I don't know if it's 22 or 23, but roughly, yeah, 22, 23 veterans a day. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to put in here how many people die in U.S. daily heroin. See if there's like a quick answer I can go to. Let's see. Trying to see if there's a quick number I can find and see one there. But I mean, this is something we need to push too. I'm not trying to downplay the veterans in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that we need to we really need to start getting this information out there too, because hey, there are some people that they go out there and they're new to it, and they mess up, they take too much or whatever. I don't know. There ain't no way you'd ever get me near this stuff, but one way or another, they messed up. Maybe they only did it a few times, and next thing you know, they're gone. Then you got other people that could be well-seasoned heroin users, and they get a batch that is too powerful or mixed with something that they were unaware of, and next thing you know, they're gone. And this is something that is really bothersome to me, because of the frequency that is happening. And what really bothers me on top of all that is the fact that this is being pushed. This is being pushed by the pharmaceutical companies. It was real bad for a while, and then now it would seem that even doctors are starting to get in trouble for overprescribing. The sad thing is the people that don't abuse it, the people that truly need it for chronic pain and whatnot, they can't get it. What blows my mind is those people that truly need that medication don't abuse that medication, they can't get it. But yet there's still enough of it being prescribed and out there on the streets that, you have tons of deaths. And I know painkillers and heroin, two different things, kind of, okay? They're both opioids, okay? And what happens is once you're addicted to those opioids, and a lot of it's done from painkillers, then when you can't get the painkillers, you're going to go to the next available thing, which is going to be heroin. So, I don't really know how to best deal with this situation other than bring it out into the light. Even if you're responsible for preventing one person from having an overdose, you've done an amazing job. So, keep this information out there. Make it well known. Like I say, some of these people just, that they mess up, None of them deserve to die. But some of these people, they're not even all that wrapped up in it like others. And they just bad choices, and that's what happened. Okay, so on to we'll do a little bit of politics. I really try to stay out of politics. I really do. It makes about as much sense as banging my head up against a wall. But This had come out. I've seen it in the news articles and stuff. I haven't read this article yet. I just seen it in headlines. I thought it was pretty astonishing. I've been speaking out against this McCain character for a long, long time. When he ran for president, there was just no way. There was just no way. There was just too much information out there to be able to feel confident about getting behind this character. Anyway, as the headline reads, working for Putin, Rand Paul's aide mocks unhinged John McCain in Russian. I guess it's not finished, but here we go. Senator John McCain accused Senator Rand Paul of working for Vladimir Putin on Wednesday after the Kentucky politician blocked consideration of a treaty to allow Montenegro into the United Nations. In response, Paul's chief strategist began mocking the claim by tweeting in Russian. That's pretty good. Paul, an anti-interventionist libertarian, has long expressed opposition to the U.S. having such a prominent economic position in NATO. Hard to say that, anti-interventionalist, when you've got a big smile and trying not to laugh. Currently, the United States has troops in dozens of countries and is actively fighting in Iraq, Syria, Libya, and Yemen, with the occasional drone strike in Pakistan. You know, just the occasional, bad day, let's drone strike Pakistan. Paul said in a statement after expressing his opposition to the consideration. In addition, the United States is pledged to defend 28 countries in NATO. It is unwise to expand the monetary and military obligations of the United States given the burden of our $20 trillion deficit. During the hearing, McCain had boldly claimed that anyone who voted against his pet issue was a Kremlin stooge. If there's objection, you are achieving the objectives of Vladimir Putin, McCain said when he attempted to call the treaty into consideration. If they object, they are now carrying out the desires and ambitions of Vladimir Putin, and I do not say that lightly. This is the same guy, by the way, that threw his own country, or, his own brothers and sisters in the military under the bus when he was captured. Anyway, continuing on. Unbothered by McCain's McCarthyism, Paul stood up, declared, "I object," and promptly walked out of the room without providing any further commentary or response. That is really remarkable that a senator blocking a treaty that is supported by the overwhelming number, perhaps 98 at least of his colleagues, would come to the floor and object and walk away, McCain said. The only conclusion that you can draw when he walks away is he had no argument to be made, he said. McCain then brought out his favorite accusation to lob at his opponents since Hillary Clinton lost the election. This senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin, he said with a straight face. Oops, sorry. Hang on. I'm hitting the stereo with my feet and turning on some unintended stuff. Wow, this is just crazy. Before I read the rest, I want to point out that little sentence there. McCain then brought out his favorite accusation to lob at his opponents since Hillary Clinton lost the election. Wait a minute. Anybody else find something kind of messed up with that? Huh. Doug Stafford, Paul's chief strategist, took to Twitter shortly after the incident, having a bit of fun and responding to tweets about the incident in Russian. That's classic. Serious Q at Doug Stafford is Rand Paul working for Putin directly as like an aide or indirectly as like an exec or Gazprom or host on RT? Journalist and satirist Jamie Weinstein tweeted. It's none of your business, Stafford responded in Russian. Wow, top aide to Senator Paul writes in Russian that he supported Ivan Drago against Rocky, Weinstein joked. Responding to another tweet about the incident and the potential rules McCain may have broken, Stafford declared, "See you in court," again writing it in Russian. The tweet referenced Rule 19, the provision invoked by Republicans who censored Senator Elizabeth Warren during the confirmation hearing for U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions in January. The rule states that senators may not directly or indirectly, by any form of words, impute to another senator or to other senators any conduct or motive unworthy or unbecoming a senator. Appearing on morning shows on Thursday, Paul did not hold back, declaring that McCain is unhinged. "I think he makes a really, really strong case for term limits. I think maybe he's past his prime. I think maybe he's gotten a little bit unhinged," Paul said of the 80 senator in an appearance on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Paul also criticized McCain's seeming fondness for war. "One of my favorite articles of the last couple years was one that talked about the angry McCains, and if we put active troops and got involved in combat where McCain wants us to be, it's virtually everywhere," he continued. "So his foreign policy is something that would greatly endanger the United States, greatly overextend us, and there has to be the thought whether or not it's in our national interest to pledge to get involved with war if Montenegro has an altercation with anyone." So, yeah, a little bit of craziness there. He said, I didn't care for McCain when he ran for office. I never paid his name any attention until he ran. And when he ran, it wasn't like I had to dig very hard. I quickly found about how he, betrayed the United States, betrayed his fellow military men and women, and this guy was running for president. And back then I was speaking up and speaking out, and everybody thought I was nuts, and I'm like, no, this guy is a little bit out there. He's definitely not somebody we want running this country. But he didn't make it in, as you all know. Thank goodness. I'm not saying Obama was any better, but, at least there hasn't been World War III yet. Not in the type of sense that most of us think of it. Anyway, got another story from Sputnik. Pyongyang blasts U.S. B-1B nuke bombers taking part in South Korea war games. On Thursday, North Korea denounced the U.S. and South Korea for conducting joint military drills near the divided peninsula using the USS Carl Vinson and the U.S. strategic bombers, accusing the two nations of escalating nuclear attack threats against Pyongyang. According to the Korean Central News Agency, a fleet of B-1B Lancer bomber planes from Guam's Andersen Air Base conducted an hour-long flight on Monday over South Korea's Sangdong firing range as part of a nuclear bombing drill. KCNA claims the exercise is designed to simulate strikes against key DPRK targets. Tensions have been running high in the region since the assassination of DPRK leader Kim Jong-un's half-brother Kim Jong-nam in Malaysia, not to mention Pyongyang's repeated nuclear weapons tests and ballistic missile launches. The U.S. and South Korea's joint drills began this month and have two major segments, the full Eagle field drills and the Key Resolve, which focuses on computer simulations. The drills are expected to conclude in April. Despite Washington asserting that such exercises are purely defensive, the North sees them as dry runs for an invasion and criticizes the annual drills every time they take place. When the Vinson entered waters off South Korea, Pyongyang warned of merciless ultra-precision strikes from the ground, air, sea, and underwater if the vessel infringed on their sovereignty. The isolated nation fired 4 ballistic missiles in a show of disapproval of the exercises earlier this month and denounced recent trilateral drills by Japan, the U.S., and South Korea to monitor the North's missiles using destroyers equipped with Aegis. KCNA posits that the probability of rival nations making a preemptive nuclear strike has reached a very dangerous phase. And anticipating a reaction, military chiefs from Seoul and Washington warned on Tuesday that Pyongyang might conduct provocative actions in response to the drills. General Joseph Dunford wrote in a statement saying the chairman recognized the possibility that North Korea could conduct provocative actions during the Key Resolve Full Eagle exercise or in connection with North Korean major political events in April. Dunford added that he and his counterpart in Seoul, General Lee Sung-jin, had a 30-minute phone call where they discussed response options. Last year's drills included about 300,000 South Korean troops and 17,000 Americans. The numbers will reportedly be similar this year. Compounding regional strife is the North's relationship with China, an ally that has grown increasingly concerned over Pyongyang's weapons testing. A Chinese Premier Li Keqiang analyzed the friction during his annual news conference, stating tensions may lead to conflict which would only bring harm to the parties involved. So what we hope is that all the parties concerned will work together to de-escalate the situation, get issues back on track of dialogue, and together to find proper solutions. Lee added, it's just common sense that nobody wants to see chaos on their doorstep. North Korea balked at China banning its coal imports in February, accusing Beijing of dancing to the tune of Washington. Wow. Dancing and singing, that kind of goes with McCain. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with that. Fun, yes I know. Let me take a peek-see real quick. Just kind of peeking around. I'm kind of looking in chat there. Keeping my eye on you. No. All right, let me see if Sputnik has a another article of interest or anything on their homepage. I did see that fence budget's being jacked up. I guess I could read that. Now, see, that in and of itself, and this is my personal opinion. I've said it a million times, 7.5 billion people on this planet. My opinion doesn't mean squat. But this is my opinion. I think over the last 8 years, I think our military has suffered greatly in so many ways. Financially, I believe, is one of those ways. Our troops abroad, whether I agree with why they were there or not, they did not have the proper equipment. They didn't have the funding for the proper armor, for the proper weapons. They just didn't. It's a fact. And so, you know, when we increase spending on military, it doesn't really faze me that much. It doesn't bother me that much because I know where we were. And, you know, I know we need to rebuild our military. I mean, it's sad what was done to our military over the last 8 years. I don't know. I'm not a history buff, but I don't know if any president in our history has ever single-handedly destroyed our military as much as Obama did. So, you know, again, seeing them increase a budget for defense doesn't faze me. I've seen that coming. And I appreciate that because our military is what keeps us safe. Again, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with all the reasons why we've been, quote unquote, spreading freedom amongst the Middle East. So, anyway, as the headline says, never-ending war amid military bloat, Trump jacks up defense budget to $639 billion. Just in non-discretionary spending. Factoring in discretionary spending can add billions more, and experts are skeptical that throwing more money at the massive U.S. defense industry will actually make America and its allies safer. And that's another thing, too, I want to point out. You know, the money that's being spent on the military is largely going to these corporations like Boeing and McDonnell Douglas. And, you know, it's not necessarily going to good places. There's a lot of overspending. And we've seen that with like the F-35 program, among many other programs. And been a lot of overspending. And that's because we didn't have a leader, a president, that got tough with them and said, look, you know, you guys are just trying to make as much money as you can. And I really think that's half of the Prop 35 project is they were able to fleece the pockets of the government and the American people. And so they did. Anyway, I'll continue on. More than military spending is required to adequately deal with the threats posed by Daesh and Al-Qaeda, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Thursday. U.S. President Donald Trump has proposed pouring another $54 billion into militarization, but spending increases are just one aspect of protecting national security interests. There is also a need to address the underlying drivers of terrorism, Guterres noted. Instead of missiles, nukes, jets, choppers, and vulnerable aircraft carriers, investments in conflict prevention, conflict resolution, countering violent extremism, peacekeeping, peace building, sustainable and inclusive development, the respect of human rights, and timely responses to humanitarian crises, I think that's pronounced, are urgently needed and potentially more effective, UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric said. Well, I've got a lot of issues with that statement. Lot of issues. Starting with countering violentism, I would like a better definition of what violent extremism is, because I have my definition of it, which I think accurately reflects the true violent extremism. But I have a feeling that a lot of others are going to be drug into that definition. For instance, like Bundy Ranch happens, which, by the way, was not violent extremism. The most violence there was the federal government pointing weapons at innocent American citizens. That, ladies and gentlemen, is violent extremism. Sustainable and inclusive development. Let's see, where have we heard that before? Yeah, I'm not a fan of the United Nations. You all know that. You all probably feel the same as I do there. So, anyway, at least one industry analyst told CNBC that the 2018 defense budget was dead on arrival. The proposed budget increase lacks meaningful detail, according to Howard Rubel, a defense industry analyst at Jefferies Investment Bank. Wait a minute. So now the banks have defense industry analysts? Anybody else find that interesting? It has the potential to add to budget gridlock, Rubel noted, because it doesn't seem to be fashioned in a manner that will allow Congress to form a coalition for an orderly passage of appropriations bills. The money for Trump's military rebuilding comes from the cuts to National Institute of Health, Cancer Research, Endowment of the Arts, and a 28% budget reduction for the diplomatic corps at the State Department, among other budget slashings. One idea that has been floated is to lower funding for America's 800 imperialistic, outdated foreign military installations, which cost taxpayers some $156 billion a year, Jake Novak writes. The U.S. even has a base in Aruba, a tiny Dutch Caribbean island that's become a popular tourist destination for Americans. Do we really need all of these bases at their current sizes and costs? Almost no one thinks so, Novak said. Worse yet, the op-ed continues. Many experts believe our overly large numbers of bases actually harm American interests, specifically by fueling local anti-American sentiment and scrutiny of U.S. foreign policy. What's more is that there is a little reason to believe the defense budget increases will be spent efficiently. In inflation-adjusted terms, the U.S. spent about $103 billion to help rebuild 16 nations following the havoc of World War II. By many measures, the return of investment is astoundingly high. Germany has become the world's fourth largest economy, while for the rest of Europe has steadily recovered from the two periods of destruction. Now, contrast that notion with 2014 report from U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, which found that by the end of 2014, the United States will have committed more funds to reconstruct Afghanistan in inflation-adjusted terms than it spent in 16 European countries under the Marshall Plan. And U.S. intervention in the Middle East has only spurred the propaganda and recruitment efforts of groups like Daesh and Al-Qaeda, or, ISIS. Trump's plan, which claims to set the table for larger, more capable, and more lethal joint force, driven by a new national defense strategy that recognizes the need for American superiority not only on land, at sea, in the air, and in space, but also inside, was actually blasted by Senator John McCain for not increasing spending enough, even though America has $20 trillion in outstanding debt obligations. There you go, there you have it. It is what it is. Let me save that link there. Okay, and I am going to stop this recording so we can go into the second hour. So the stream might shut off just for a second. That's normal. So just sit tight.